evening. It is June 1st, 2023. It's Hobby Talk with PSA Canada. And Hockey 99 is already ready with comments. And I'm ready to read those comments. But before I do, good evening, Luke. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well, sir. We are now officially in humidity season. And for a brief shining moment, Brad Hartland is now experiencing what it is to be in my office for the last 9 years. So, Brad, how are things?
It's hot.
The best part is the way you can tell the difference is if you go back to last week's episode, and I did take an excerpt of Brad giving us a lovely, business thing. I included that on the channel because I thought it was a really good piece, so I separated it out. If there's a really good segment, I like to include it and throw it in there. So I did that. But what you're going to notice is, although the shirt appears to be very similar color to last week Carlos was wearing a sweater. This week he's very much wearing a short sleeve t-shirt. There is a difference. The difference is 1 week, and the answer, Canada. Oh man, is this episode sponsored by Manscaped? We can only hope. We'd love to see Carlos and Luke do an ad read. I would love to see Luke do an ad read for Manscaped. I think that is a winner. That would be an excerpt on its own. Brad, is the June special big day for PSA Canada? No. We'll talk about that in a second. An influx submission can't be tough for business. It would be, but it isn't. So real quick, Brad, just so we're covered, we did chat about that briefly just before we got started. You guys have to figure that out. Nothing has, obviously, PSA did make the announcement for their June special. But as far as how that pertains to PSA Canada, TBD, to be determined. We'll come back to you.
Yeah, no, exactly. We're just trying to figure out what we're going to do. By next week, we'll announce what we're going to do here. We're trying to mainstream things because when these specials come out, it does complicate things from our end with the changes that you have to do. We're trying to come up with something that's going to be our regular pricing moving forward. That will give everyone the opportunity to experience special in a certain way.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. And yeah, that's the reason why I wanted to make sure we emphasize that is because PSA can make the announcement, but obviously if we're dealing in Canada, we're dealing with exchange rate, customs, it's a different thing. It's not just like, oh yeah, just convert it to the Canadian dollar equivalent. It's not like that, just flip a switch. The question is what that's going to look like and what makes the most sense, and then there'll be some discussion to be had for that. So let's take a look. Let's bring back the raw, great to flip game. I don't think for $15, even for the US folks, $15 with $199 declared value, there is some value to that. And by the way, if you guys are checking out your gem rate data, I've been telling you guys about this. I think it's very good information for you to have. PSA did clear 1 million cards again this past month. There was a dip in it, and there was also a dip in SGC, and a couple of the other guys also had a decrease. So it's good to keep an eye on month to month. But $15, I don't think necessarily is going to make a big change. What I did think was interesting from the perspective of what they did is they did all sports 1990 to present. So they gave you a nice big gap there to increase, which includes some of the 90s cards, which I think is great. So I think that's going to be a big thing. And if any of you know or watch the thing on Friday, you know I'm a big fan of Brett Favre. And it's pronounced like that with a little bit of extra emphasis. But I've got some nice ones coming in that might fit under that 90s category. Just saying. So personally, I wouldn't mind. I have no issue with it.
And it's hard. A lot of our customer base, like even when we do these specials with the $199 value, most people would sooner go, hey, if you want to go at $23 a card, 22, $23 a card, or would you sooner just go at 27 across the board and you have that $499 threshold, which really equates to almost $1,000. Mm-hmm. When you're playing with the $199 level, I can see PSA really starting to crack down on that. Again, this is my opinion on it, that you're going to see a lot more upcharges on that because they want people to submit cards that are at that lower level. And the price might even drop from there. It might even go cheaper at some point for those cheaper cards, especially for the set registry.
Mm-hmm. But we have a lot of. If they do, I think it's going to be the 99 declared value. I still think that's something in their back pocket. If they ever want to go cheaper, it would be the 99 declared value, and that's how they would get around it.
Yeah, and it's so hard, like 99 or 199. That like when you go to $499 USD, really that equates to anything like $1,000 Canadian. So that's a big difference between 250 because there's so many cards that you're starting to play around with at that level. So,
Hi, it's fair. Staggy Joe, good evening. Good evening to you. Andrew here says, hi guys. Brad made out quite well on vintage baseball with your sale this week. There you go. Awesome. Do well on your vintage selling.
Yeah, the AMG did a big dollar a card, and I don't know. I asked Steve for the numbers, but I think it might have sold somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 cards in the last 4 days at $1 a piece. So,
yep. Good evening, Doug. Let's take a look here. John, question for Luke. What is a better play right now, Jokic or Elsla or Elsla? Elsa. See, that's why when
Elsa.
the heat gets to you.
Elsa
You're
for
going, wow, wow,
I bought it from John, so
yeah. Luke, the more important question is what happened to our good buddy Jason Robertson after you led us all astray with your hashtag invest advice there, Luke.
hey,
Listen, as a Dallas fan, I am personally hurt by this entire turn of events.
he made it farther than McDavid this year, right?
That's the low bar.
And I said this year.
It's true. It is true. I will say I did enjoy watching the Stars be in it as long as they were, but it was disappointing to see a couple of them have some struggles with it. But I will say, and this is a separate kind of thing. And Brad, I don't know how you felt about it. When Jamie Benn got the suspension, which by the way, well deserved suspension, completely deserved.
100% stupid.
But I got to be honest. His comment on it, he goes, I shouldn't have used him as my landing point with a stick. I cackled. I like cackled, and I usurped. I borrowed the Terrell Owens meme. That's my quarterback. It's like that's my captain. That's my captain.
Yeah.
I was like, it's such a lame excuse, but I love it. I love how lame it is. It's so ridiculously lame. And it's like, yep. So anybody got any Jamie Benn cards? I'm buying real cheap, but I'm buying. Oh man, I love it. Okay, so real quick, it says Brad, you need to speed it up. He's moving as fast as he can. It's hot. Clock is on the month is already ticking. I don't think it's going to be so much bound to that. I think there is, kind of to Brad's point. I think it's going to become a matter of syncing up what PSA Canada is doing to what PSA is doing, because PSA makes the decision, but if there isn't a bunch of lead time, it's not like there was preparation time. Because if it's like, oh hey, by the way, next month's thing is going to be this, figure out what you want to do. Okay, you're ready on day one. Boom. Well, no, it's actually so that's what you're gonna do. Okay, cool. Let's have a discussion. Huddle. It's a little bit more than that.
You're right.
Yeah. Looking forward. Hey, it is what it is. You do what you need to do. Disney Lorcana or bust. There you go. Greatest cards collector. And by the way, some great comments by you. I saw that in the last video, so thank you for that. And thank you all for the suggestions. We'll take them all into consideration here. We're working on some stuff. Brad and I were chatting a little bit beforehand, and obviously there's a couple of things we got to figure out first, but we'll figure out. We'll see what goes on going forward. Bonsoir, mes amis. Thank you, Jeff.
Jeffrey.
199 is easier to stay on with the card market crash. The crash? Hey, man, tell it to the cards that I'm selling for a profit. Sweet profit. So, listen, I'm just saying, I'm buying at X and I'm selling at Y. It's working out. If this is a crash, I don't ever want to recover. It's going great. Any thoughts on PSA layoffs? I did hear about this. It was a relatively small number of people. Brad, please, what do you think?
Yeah, so I have no insider knowledge to anything, but when you look on the outside, if you lay off 10 or 15 people of a workforce of 2,000 people,
yeah,
it's irrelevant. I'm pretty, things happen. You move things you can move people from department to department. You can promote people. You can have people retiring. You can have all these things happening. And if a company doesn't lay off at some point, I just think that's bad business. Mm-hmm. Again, not talking about this particular case, but you have to be laying off people. There's people that work good, and there's people that, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I think maybe, and I'll just interject on this, and then Luke, I'd like to get your thoughts as well. I'll just interject this, and I on Friday I say it a little more colorfully, but I'll keep it very even keel here. Plus, we're trying to conserve energy with the heat. The thing is that a lot of these larger companies, especially in this environment, that is to be expected. Also, we're more sensitive to it because it's in the card space, but it's actually no different than any other business in any of the other sectors. There's similar kind of activity in all of them. I spent years, I probably spent the last decade of my career in the banking side of things, and they would do restructurings all the time. And, even during good times and during when they potentially saw some headwinds down the road. And here's the thing. These are banks. These are banks who then, when you go look at the quarterly earnings, oh yeah, we were a little disappointed. We only made $4 billion this quarter. Wait, you made $4 billion? You made profit? Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, profit. It's like we only made $4 billion though. We were hoping for $6 billion, but we only made $4 billion. So they did, but they do restructurings and everything. I was in a department where they packaged out a bunch of some of the senior managers and things. Not everybody, But they looked at it and said, we've got a lot of people here under salary. We've got some people that are redundant. We've got some people that are doing stuff already that we need. We've got some people that are closing on retirement anyway. They say, hey, we can offer you a package and package you out, and we'll pay you for the next 2 years to sit at home. Listen, those people that walked in those rooms came out with smiles on their faces because they go, I'm out of here and I'm getting paid for the next 2 years, and I was going to retire anyway in 6 months. And that's not a joke. One of my colleagues that was there was already planning. He had scoped out which RV he was going to buy because he was going to go on his retirement thing with his wife to go travel around in an RV. And then he got one of those. He came out. You've never seen anybody happier, Luke. Biggest smile on the man's face because he knew he was done. He had put in his time, and now he was going to get to enjoy the fruits of his labor. It was going to be good for him.
Oh, for sure. And any good company has to restructure or find things like that to happen, right? So, for sure.
And I was in that department, and guess what? A bunch of us got shifted over, and they said, "Oh, you guys don't have to worry about it." And it's like, I know, I'm not getting paid enough for you to care. So it's like, I'm aware. You're not going to be able to find somebody that you can pay what you're paying me to do my job. So I figure I'm okay. For this one, though, in all seriousness, I think Rod has a valid point here. Mostly marketing people, maybe. Regardless, though, I have to look at what they're actually doing. That's the question I have. I think I have to look at what they're actually doing and then what their operating is. I don't think it's an issue, my opinion. And if something happens down the road that changes our mind, we're open to listening to those things. But I got to be honest. When you're grading 1 million cards a month and making money for that, as long as you're spending the money wisely otherwise, I'm sorry, they would do it even if they were making 10 times as much money because there might be an opportunity for them to do it. Why wouldn't you? Oh, here we go. This one's for John as well. Another question for Luke. Who is better dim sum, Edmonton or Toronto?
Brad would say Toronto.
Like a dim sum.
Good Lord. Thank you, John. All right. Newfie Sig here says, I've heard plenty of people say they believe PSA charges grading fees based on card value. But what is the real reason? Grading fees based on card value. Do you mean like the different tiers? I'm not sure what this question is. They do have different tiers where there are different declared values in it. But you could take a $1 card and do like the Super Express. that if you want to. It has nothing to do with value at that point. But if you could clarify what you're asking in this question, then kind of happy to answer it, but I don't know what you're asking. So this one here, Kevin says, "What's up, guys? One day I have my life together on a Thursday." Understand, Kevin. Understand. Brad is a corporate sympathizer. Now he's slowly becoming part of the machine. It's like, soon you too, my friend. On Friday nights, I'm trying to become part of the Fanatics Overlords. I'm open to it. Just saying. It's not so bad being a corporate sympathizer. Just saying.
I feel like Carlos will end up working for Fanatics at some point. This has just been the ongoing Overlord Fanatics comment. It's just going to happen. Something's going to happen.
Brad, if nothing else, even if I end up working for somebody else, I would sign a 1-day contract on principle.
I know.
I'd be like, guys, you got to do this. We got to do the 1-day contract. If nothing else, that'll be funny. That'll be hilarious. All right, so yes, based on card value, can you grade a mint Gretzky for 30? Okay, now I get what you're saying. So yeah, that's the declared value thing I was talking about. So a mint Gretzky rookie, for example, going to be a lot of money, right? So basically, the level is going to be determined. So the answer is you could grade a mint Gretzky for $30, but if it turns out that it's real, and they grade it, and then they look at what the market value approximately is, then it's going to be based on where it falls under that declared value. Obviously, a mint Gretzky rookie, for example, that would be high up there. So it'd certainly be on a much higher tier. And then, yes, you would be charged based on that. So based on that question, yes, then that is correct.
Definitely.
Is there a link to this Friday show I keep hearing about? I do keep the two things separate, but I don't know, Nova. If you ever look, so underneath my name, type that in without the underscores in YouTube, you'll find it. And Brad's been on there too.
And I love it. I truly enjoy my Fridays once I get back into a routine. But Nova Grower, Friday night show is made for you.
Yeah, and we do take the gloves off a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Carlos is a lot more polite in this version. A lot more polite. Because hey, this is the venue. This is the order of the establishment. That's what we got to do here. Over there, I frankly have it's my channel. I can do what I want. Do card shows in the summer don't work? I think this is a good question. And John, you were a participant to that card show I was at in Mississauga this past weekend. I like the show, but I'm not a dealer, so I want to make emphasis to it. As an attendee, I thought the venue was all right. I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought the space was decent. I think it helps a lot that the dealer tables were cheaper. I did talk to a couple of the dealers, and several of them that I did speak to felt like they were doing all right. The question then becomes, what's your perception as a dealer? But do summer card shows don't work? I think there is something to be said for this conversation, and I think this is a good discussion topic. Luke, why don't I touch on this with you first? Obviously, there's a lot of distractions in the summertime. Like forget about the card market and all that. I'm separating that. I'm talking about the fact that around these parts, people are out at the cottage. On Fridays, the highway is full of people driving out to cottage country because they're going to go visit their space, their place. And then if you run a card show on the weekend, well, guess where people aren't, right? Less people available in the vicinity, less people available to potentially partake in these card shows. There may be something to that. I throw it out to you. What do you think, Luke?
I think personally, I think card shows in the summertime are actually the best, but it depends on what you're doing. Like
Okay.
as a seller, maybe not. As a seller, it could be because of the fact that how you price your cards or how you know, price it. But in general, through the card market, it is slower in the summertime with less sports. There's only baseball really, and then football starting up and things like that, right? So no hockey, no basketball. But it is the best time to go to these card shows, I believe, when you're going to buy because you get the best deals.
Oh, I'll agree with that. I'll
You know?
I'll co-sign on that piece without a doubt.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about it from the dealer perspective, though, because anything that hurts foot traffic, so there's a balancing act. It's actually a good playoff of Brad of the conversation we had maybe last week or the week before. I think it was maybe the week before. There is a balancing act as a show promoter between getting foot traffic. You want to get enough foot traffic so there's the potential for business to happen. The dealers want to feel like they've got a good chance to sell their stuff. By the way, if you price your stuff wrong, you're still going to struggle. Doesn't matter whether the tables are cheap. It doesn't matter whether the tables are expensive. It doesn't matter whether you get a lot of foot traffic or a little. Some of the dealers do very well regardless because they price their stuff appropriately, but to each their own. But there is a balancing act there. During the summertime, it feels like you're going to have a tougher time getting enough people in the building. However, the dealers that are priced well can still do well. And if the table price isn't too high, then you give them a good chance to succeed, at which point then success breeds success. You win, they win, they're happy, everybody, the people there are happy, they get a good deals, the dealers are happy they made sales, the promoter gets money, everybody wins. What do you think?
Yep. No, I agree with you. I do think that there is that point now, like for us in Halifax, we'll do the show. We have the 2-day show on the 24th, 25th, and then we'll be off again, really probably, well, until September. I think you kind of hit that July, August area where it does, again, with travel, with everything else. And it also, with the being in the Canadian market, as Luke said, without having all this, you got baseball rolling. You don't have football. You don't have hockey. You don't have basketball. Things kind of just, I guess Charizard doesn't have a season, so he can still go year round. But
So you're saying Alex Manoah isn't saving us?
yeah, you had to go there today.
Yeah, yes, I did.
You had to go there.
I really did. Yes. Listen,
don't-
my stars are out. My stars are out. This is the one piece of joy. The one piece. This is all I have.
That's
I
okay,
know,
Brad.
I
What's
see-
that card? What's that card you have in the back there?
Listen,
yeah.
worth it. Listen, worth it. Worth it.
I seen him trying to plead his case to stay in the game, and then Snyder's just like, "No, man, you're gone." Like,
Luke, sometimes it's worth it, and you do what is right. You do what is right, Luke. You stand up for your principles. You got to take a stand. That's all I'm saying. But yes, no, I think bottom line though is, and I was chatting with one of the guys who was at a card show in St. Catharines the same weekend that I was at the one in Mississauga here, and they had a card show and he thought it was okay, but they're also taking the rest of the summer off basically. So there is something to that. I think there is an understanding that it feels like, and it might just be as simple as, hey, people got options. The thing about summertime is that there's so many things pulling at your attention. Like I use cottage as one example. But listen, if the weather's nice, you're outside, you're doing stuff. You might have stuff you got to work on at the house. There's multiple scenarios. I'm just throwing it out there as possibilities, right? See? The phones are ringing off the hook. I love it. Fantastic. All right, so real quick. Conspiracy theory is the 79 Gretzky's are pop controlled. Brad personally controls that flow. Personally.
Yeah.
Hashtag allegedly. Thanks, guys. My question was basically why are there different cost levels to grading versus the same price dependent value? Yes. Okay, real quick. So, Brad, can you touch on this one as pertains to the insurance side of it? Now, again, I'm going to emphasize the thing with the show is we try to be open-ended, open-minded on this. There is alternatives where people will say like, oh, just charge the same price for everything. But a more expensive item does have certain considerations, certain things with it. Again, whether you accept that answer or not is a different conversation. But Brad, do you want to explain the insurance side of it in that piece?
Yeah. So if you do go into psacard.com and you can go in to look where PSA protects their grades, they're the only company that does it. So they more or less guarantee the grade. If you have a card that was, let's say PSA graded it and it was deemed that it was altered, they'll buy it back out of the marketplace. There's caps on it. I think it's $250,000 or $500,000 per card. There's rules and stipulations and they're all listed on there, but they are the only one. When you play in that high-end card world, which a lot of people do, if you're buying a card for six figures, you want to make sure that there's you're buying it based upon the grade that it was assigned by a company, and PSA stands behind that. So for that case, on higher end cards, there is the insurance component that does come into play. But if you go to psacard.com, you can read through the whole steps, which I actually just refreshed my memory on it. I went through it, I think, a couple of weeks ago because I haven't read it and things have changed on it. But it was very interesting. Just double check. What we can maybe do is we'll find the link for it and we'll put it on so everyone can read through it.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good to me. But thank you for the question. And again, if you ever want clarification, please do so. Happy to go into that because it's a valid question. Paul here says, hey guys, I wanted to pop in and say, got my second submission back. Great experience like the first. Can't wait for the next one. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Paul. Josh says, my submissions have been read all the way to Halifax on the spreadsheet for a week or so. Does that mean you've received them and haven't processed them yet? So if it says Halifax on the spreadsheet, what does that mean, Brad?
Yep. So that means that we have your cards back here. And this rings a bell. I just tried to go into the spreadsheet, but I'm working off a hotspot here because all our internet is down here in Halifax, which we think has to do with the fires. So what I'll do, Josh, we'll get Sherry to reach out with you. So if all your submissions are back, that means that we have processed and we've invoiced everyone. We might have a wrong email. So this is good for us to know. Bring it to our attention, which is great. So I'll get Sherry to look into that now. She's downstairs.
No,
she just said,
no.
Yeah, we got the message. We just got your dual card back. That completes your order. That just came back this week. So in the last 24, 48 hours, we just got it back. So you'll be invoiced tomorrow, and then we'll ship Monday, and you'll have them Tuesday.
Nice. Very good stuff. Thank you for the question, Josh. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks. All two of my graded cards are PSA. I love having the ability to scan a card to check the pop. Good stuff. Good stuff. Absolutely. Thank you for that question. So, folks, we'll do a little bit of shorter episode than last week. Obviously, Brad is on a hot spot. And as much as I enjoy watching him slowly bake and stew. And look,
can you tell? I feel like I look hotter. Like I turn the light on. Like I'm.
Well, it looks like there's a little bit of redness. Luke, am I making this up? Like it does look like at least the lighting. It looks like it's a little redder.
It's 38 degrees in here right now. Like this is unbelievable. Like it's killing me up here. I don't know how people do that. Hands are sweating. I feel like an Eminem song.
9 years. 9 years. 9.
We get like that in for a week in Edmonton here, and then that's it.
Oh. Yeah. Look, the best part is that Carlos Sr. at this point has taken pity on me, which, holy crap, if Carlos Sr.'s taking pity on me, that's next level. That's hilarious to me. He literally, this is not a joke. I'm not making this up. It's not a bit. He gave me this. You see what that is? He got the little flyer thing, and he got in there. It's like, hey, you could probably... holy crap. Jesus. Yeah. I love it. It's hysterical. So real quick, why is it so hot? Well, for Brad, they turned off the AC in his place. Could be because of the issues. Obviously, there's fires and stuff going on in different parts of the country. Unfortunately, we have fun here. We keep it light, but that is a serious thing. That is obviously a real legitimate issue that some people are having
Yeah.
out there.
So
For
right
me,
now,
go ahead.
yeah,
Please.
I should say too, just so right now in Halifax, like if I turn the camera, like we're on the top level of our building and we overlook the Halifax Harbor. Right now, the entire harbor is just covered in smoke.
Mhm.
And if you look, the fires are, I mean, probably like 15 minutes away drive from us. Shelburne is the biggest fire in Nova Scotia history right now. And it didn't help today. Today we hit 35 degrees,
Yep.
which was like, I think the hottest day ever on this day recorded, or it's absolutely crazy here. And then we had another fire just, if I look out across the harbor this way, the Wag Walkley, which is like a historic club with pools and everything, that burnt to the ground today. There's just, I feel Luke deals with this all the time in Alberta, but it's something to see. I know at least a dozen people right now that have lost their homes, which is, homes or cottages, which is devastating. But I think the number is probably going to be up. I mean, hopefully they get things under control this weekend, but it's up to the number is probably going to be 400 or 500 people that have lost their homes. It's a
Crazy.
tough situation, that's for sure. Blair, that works for us, AMG, helps us out with PSA Canada, takes submissions at the store. He's been evacuated since Sunday from his house. He went outside, he started to smell it, he's seen the smoke coming, and in 2 hours he put as much stuff in as he possibly could in his van, and he hasn't been home since. So he's just, his fingers are crossed that his home will still be there.
Yeah, that's what I say. Like, we'll have a lot of levity, but we also have to acknowledge that that is a real thing and a real issue. Otherwise, it's like, yeah, and potentially because of that, that means their AC isn't on. The reason I'm giving Brad a hard time about that is because my condo where I've lived the last 9 years, they never put ducts in it. So it's not like a normal thing where you get a regular AC unit and then you just, the cool or hot air blows through the ducts. It's like, actually, these are so I have to get a ductless system, which is, I'm looking at a bill like 6 or 7 or 8 grand. And frankly, I'm just cheap. That's the answer. The answer is I was, for most of my 30s, I was like, I'd rather just suffer. And I've got the air conditioner in the master upstairs in the main room because there it's nice. But in the main floor and where my office is, no, you bake. You bake in the summer and you freeze in the winter. That's how you do it. Like a real man. Brad.
I know I shouldn't be complaining. But
Look, this is my favorite thing. This is my favorite thing right now. This makes me so happy. It really does. Now I feel good. Now I feel like I've gotten an extra fresh. I feel like I've gotten a burst of fresh air. I don't have it, but I feel like I did. It's great. Good evening, Jeff. Absolutely.
Yeah. We should mention too, today
Yes.
I got the card that I I took the train to Toronto to pick up for a great customer of PSA Canada's. It was graded and it came back a 10 for him today, which was awesome. And
Oh, nice.
he flew to Japan to pick up the card. He bought it. He brought it back. I took the train from Montreal to Toronto, picked it up, brought it back here, shipped it to Santa Ana, and it was graded. And he is very, very happy about the outcome. And that's always one of the best parts about the job. You get to call. I called him up as soon as the grade popped. I called him up and let him know, and he is ecstatic today. Like, I mean, the car is probably, I don't know if it's $200,000, maybe even more. Who knows? So it was awesome.
Nice. And that was the serious card when we were at the CSC show a couple of weeks back. Brad had that card in the backpack and he wasn't able to go to Blue Jays games, so sacrifices were made.
That's true story. Actually,
That's a
because
true story.
me and Carlos were going to go to the Blue Jays game, and I was like, I know you can't take it in a backpack. And we were measuring the backpack, trying to figure out the dimensions. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to leave this card somewhere, so it's not leaving my possession. So, yeah.
So now going forward, Brad is going to have to get his new backpack, which is going to be about this size. Very, very small, just to make sure you can fit the card in it. That's about it. Just to make
That was
sure.
a Charizard, wasn't it? That was a Charizard, wasn't it?
I don't think it was Charizard.
I feel like it was one of those really Look, Kevin would have the proper answer to this, but it's like one of those fancy, like, there's
But it's
a lot of
card, right?
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But there's some fancy ones, and I can't even pretend. Look, all I know is Charizard and Chief Stringamon, and the Chief Stringamon hasn't even happened yet. When it does, we'll know. But until then, we don't know yet.
No, yeah, it wasn't Charizard.
Okay, so here you got a question. Cheviskar, good evening. Hey guys, March TCG bulk submission is stuck in the grading stage for a month now. Is it the same for your submissions? Is there not a backlog of PSA for bulk submissions? Not for bulk
No.
submissions, but TCG bulk submission is stuck at the grading stage.
Yep, that's normal. Like everything is coming back now. We don't have any orders that are going over the 65 business days from when PSA enters it into their system. So we use the 120-day door to door, so we can check. It's absolutely normal. We have some orders that cruise right through. We've got in the last week, I've had orders that came back that have been under a month, under 30 days. Like we had a couple that were 3 weeks, which was crazy, which is awesome to see. Now that order, usually when that happens and you see it's stuck in that position, it could have been some sort of a problem order in the research team. It could have got delayed. There's so many different reasons why an order can get stuck in any different stage. PSA does list a lot of the options at psacard.com. You can go in, but if it's been stuck in the grading stage, it will get through, and then you'll just see it cruise right through the rest of the way. But it will not be longer than 65 business days from when PSA entered into their system, unless there's the odd, like if it's a ticket, if it's a pack, even though packs are going quick now, or it could be an autograph that they're having trouble verifying the authenticity of it. That can cause orders to be longer. But if this is a TCG bulk, it won't be longer than 65 business days from when it enters PSA system.
Yeah. They've also been pretty good with TCG for the most part because they've got a good number of graders who are able to handle it. It's vintage traditionally, for quite a while now that has presented a lot of the delays. If there isn't some weird issue, vintage has been the one that's created more of an issue.
Yeah. And then sometimes if an order doesn't have, like if it's a problem order, so again, I don't know how the inner workings of that go, but say if you had a 100 card order and you submitted 101 cards instead of 100, which happens a tremendous amount of times, then that all of a sudden can be delayed, and that could take another little extra time.
No,
I think
fair.
actually Nat Turner talked about it this week. He was on with some guys that I met down there. Reckless.
I did see that.
Reckless,
yes, it's Reckless Cards or Reckless Sports Cards, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I met him down in California. He was a nice guy. And I did it again. There I go. Don't make fun of me again, right? He
Luke, I'm out. This is where I drink.
Yeah, but it's the first time I've seen Nat do an interview in quite some time. But it was good, and he talks about all those different reasons why. I recommend that if you wanted to check it out. I think Reckless Cards, but it was a good 30-minute interview, and he gives a lot of good points.
No, that sounds fair. So let me ask you guys. So 2 things. I'm gonna initiate a quick conversation with the guys here, but in the course of it, if you guys have any topics or any questions that you have, throw them in the chat. Happy to do that. All right, let's talk about this briefly for a moment, shall we? Let's do it. And then I can see Mike Canadian Cards has a question, so I'll make sure I can see his question on here so I can pull it. Here we go. Even gents, how's the 89 and older special going from February? I don't think you guys had a special for the 89 and older, did you?
That's what we just talked about. We did have a vintage special in February.
Okay.
So the oldest orders that I have right now are one. There's a few of those that were submitted from the February in the early stages of March. So they'll like same thing as those. They'll all be back within 65 business days from when they're entered. So we do have a couple that are kicking around. If you want to email us and get your sub number, we can check on it for you for sure.
Got it. Okay. No, that's perfect. Thank you. Thank you for the question, Mike. Appreciate it. I think it was the EV Evolution like Umbreon. I'm going to take your word for it because I don't know what any of those things mean. I know what an EV is. I remember that because my younger brother saw the cartoon. That's all I got. The rest of it, I got nothing. That's Kevin's department. It's Kevin's domain. Yep, sounds good. Thank you, Mike. No, I was going to say is, so like I said, any other questions or comments, feel free to throw them in there. We can address them briefly. All right, let's do it. We're all in Canada, at least until Brad denounces it and realizes, no, I can't do it anymore. It's just too much of the heat. If I'm going to move to the heat, I'll move to the Latin country. But in Canada, we are required, mandated, as a matter of fact, Canadian citizen, naturalized, born here, it doesn't matter. We must talk about the hockeys. And we now have our Stanley Cup finalists. We now have it. Despite my best attempts to, curse, Vegas. Even though I love Vegas. I love Vegas the city. Vegas the team, less so. At least right now. But we got Vegas Golden Knights. Should have been the Black Knights, by the way. I was pitching that originally when they were doing the expansion team. I'm like, call it the Black Knights, call it the Black Knights, call it the Black Knights. The Monty Python joke. It's perfect. 'Tis but a flesh wound. This is great. They didn't do it. But they went with Golden Knights. Fine. Fine, if you must. Against the Florida Panthers. Brad, does anyone other than Eric and you watch this? Who's like I'm interested in the result. I'm interested in the first time Stanley Cup champion. That part interests me. Yes. And I do, and the history will be made. No matter what happens, history will be made.
Yeah, honestly, it's the same as the NBA playoffs right now. I'll admit I'm not too interested in either one of them. I guess I am actually going for Florida now. I developed a soft spot for Matthew Tkachuk after watching an interview with Paul Maurice. I think it was on 2 weeks ago, and they talked about Matthew Tkachuk after. Paul Maurice did a big thing, and they just talked about his personality and that he's the most loved guy in the team, from the janitors in the rink to everybody. And so I'm starting to develop a little bit of a soft spot for him. So we'll see.
Ron's got the good comment here. I like this one. Can we refer double disqualification?
That's awesome.
That'd be amazing. James says, I checked out of watching. Fair. Nate says Vegas too new of a team to be winning a cup. They haven't suffered enough. Well, Florida's 96. It's not like they're that far. Yeah, they're older team, I guess. Sorry, not well. Was it 96? Yeah, I think they had that weird, crazy run early in their. Yeah,
well,
I know 96 was when they had the cup run. I just don't remember if the team was founded in 96.
No, I think they came in 93.
Yeah,
I was thinking 93 as well.
With Anaheim, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the Ducks. That sounds right to me. Yeah, but still early on in their. So I guess technically they've been around for 30 years. I guess. Usually when I have no horse in the race, which has been the case most of the time. Usually when I don't have a horse in the race these days, I look for storyline, and in this one I got nothing. It's not like, the savvy veteran or something, or maybe the young player that I'm interested. And by the way, it's not that there isn't talented players. There's good players on these teams. No doubt. No question. Obviously, to get to this point, you have to play good hockey. You have to play good hockey to get to this point. It just doesn't interest me that much. I cannot get that excited about it. The ratings go straight down the toilet. It feels like it'll... Look, here's the question. Legitimate question. Do you think they get a record low rating on one of the games? I'm not talking about in the series overall. I'm saying, but do they have a game somewhere in this series where they achieve a record low rating with all the options available in the TV universe and Netflix and everything else?
I think they have to. I think it has to.
Yeah, I think this was a rough one because Vegas's fan base is there, but it's transient. Like it's not like a normal fan base because Vegas is transient. There are Vegas locals, yes. They're born and raised people from Nevada, yes. But not that many. not that many that were into hockey in the first place. But there will be some fans, sure, no doubt. And if they win, it'll be a great party. Go ahead.
This is embarrassing. But I'm going to say it anyway. Does it start tonight?
No.
There you go.
Starts over the weekend. It starts over the weekend. I want to say. Is it Saturday?
Saturday starts.
Yes.
See, like that, again, that's terrible. I should know that. Like that shouldn't even be. But no, that's just
fair. But I think that doesn't that kind of answer my question.
It does.
Luke, any general thoughts at all?
I checked the schedule right before the show so that if somebody asked, then we know.
I like your preparation, Luke. I appreciate your preparation.
And it was 93 that I was founded.
Okay, gotcha. So Novagoro says F1 in Spain this weekend. I'm sure Carlos and Brad can wait. Watch. I don't care about F1, but I might be more. If you say Carlos, gun to your head, you got to watch one of these Stanley Cup Final game or F1. Brad, I might be able to be talked into the vroom. Like it's bad.
Yeah, you're going too far. I can't go that far.
I don't know, man. Look, at least in F1 they turn in both directions. You got that. It's NASCAR where they just do the one turn.
Oh man, I take NASCAR over F1 any day personally. I love NASCAR.
Well,
I love
that's just because of the crashes. Don't lie to me. That's just because of the crashes.
I think F1 is awesome. It's exciting to watch. I don't think watching.
All right, who's your F1 guy, Luke? Let's go. Let's get your Jason Robertson pump going on.
Oh, there you go.
No, you know what? I don't know. I like
Max Verstappen.
no, I like Lando Norris. I liked him in Ocon or whatever, but I mean Ocon, I don't think he's as well.
You could have said
And
Akon, and I would know what you're talking about. Ocon, I got nothing. No, I got nothing.
but yeah, it's fun watching it. I think
Wow.
it's exciting at the end.
So
You
when
know
do
what
we
it
get?
reminded me of too, Carlos? You're like this. Last time I went to an F1 race was in Montreal. I've been there 2 or 3 times in my life
Sure.
for
Yeah.
F1.
Uh-huh.
Free trip. I went with Molson. Very fortunate. Happy. The experience, the parties, everything was great. Heineken beer was flowing, but it was the hottest I've ever been in my entire life. Even hotter than I am today. Was at that F1 race. Right in the middle of the summer, and I watch all these guys walking around with their leather jackets on. It's 40 degrees in Montreal. Just sweat pouring off. It's miserable experience.
Nice. I love it. I'm hoping for Florida, only for Maurice. Great coach, dry wit. Fair enough, Mike. Fair enough. Hey, look, as long as you got a rooting interest in it, all good. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying I'm not interested. That's all. I'm just being honest. It does not intrigue me. But I don't. But if you can find something, that draws you in, makes you look, I don't mind watching a neutral. Like I said, Dallas won the Stanley Cup in '99. If Dallas has to be in the Stanley Cup final for me to watch it, then I haven't watched one in 30, in going on 24 years. There have been Stanley Cup finals that I'll watch where there's some kind of a storyline or something interesting. Yeah, I'll still watch a couple of games here and there. But this one does nothing for me. 96 through sacrifice to the Avs, absolutely. Jeff says 93-94, so thank you. It was 93. Thank you for that. Every Sabres fan is fluting for Florida. Yeah, the Jack Eichel thing. Yep, that's fair. Not off the table. True. Fair enough. I just don't know. My thought coming out of this discussion, and like I said, I'm leaving it open. I want to go close to an hour. So another 17, 18 minutes. That's why I'm saying open discussion. This is going to resemble the Friday in the sense that I'm opening to you guys. Whatever you want to chat about, we're open to it. That's why I wanted to start off talking about the hockeys. We're contractually obligated. We got to talk about the hockeys a little bit. What I was going to say, though, is that Luke's point, though, makes me think, is like, Luke, what we got to do is Luke Breaks F1. I need you to pronounce the names, and I need you to tell me who the hell they are, because I don't know.
I do have boxes of them.
Come on, Luke. What do you have boxes of? Oh, the top scroll. Luke, I dare you. This is like the this is literally like the perfect episode for it.
Like I have boxes from like 3 years ago that I still haven't opened up because I haven't had time. And I've always told myself, you know what? Until I have time, when I finish whatever I have to do, then I can open it up. But then when I finish what I have to do, I have something else I have to do, and then it gets rolled
I was
back.
going to say, Luke, that sounds to me like you're trying to come up with an excuse to never open the damn things. I think you should open one of the boxes. I think that's a beautiful idea.
We'll see.
All right. Well, I tried, folks. I tried. It would have been fun. It would have been fun to have them. Grab a couple. What is that one? Is that the Disney thing? Yeah. I figured.
He loves it.
Brad, I don't know, man. I'm trying. Not for lack of effort. I'm trying.
I gotta do that this week. I'm gonna pull this out because we're gonna open that. Well, maybe we'll do that.
Oh
on Friday too.
yes. That's the 99 2000.
Yeah. Sorry, 2000 2001.
2001. Nice.
Yeah, I think I might have said 99 2000. But it's 2000 2001.
That's still a good year. I like
I'm gonna
both.
put it over there with the Medano just so we keep it together.
Nice.
See how many Manoa comments we get first.
Hey, listen, it was funny. It's like, don't deny it was funny. It was beautifully timed and thematically appropriate. Just accept it, Heartland. Just accept it. You did this to yourself. I warned you off of it. I warned you. And as far as I'm concerned, I've earned this. I've earned it. No battle at the cup. Right up Luke's alley. There you go. I love it. It's fair. I know it happens, man. What are you gonna do? So I don't know. Let me ask the chat, because there are several of you in the chat that are hanging out. So I appreciate you doing that. Oh, by the way, we've been light on this, but I do want to do it. I did put in a video, like I said. If you didn't check out last week's, I did take an excerpt on it because I thought it was a good segment on it. We've appreciated the support. The support has been excellent. There's been some great comments, and we've appreciated that. If you could also hit the like button, that is extremely helpful, extremely useful, because we've got some discussions and things that have to come in the coming days. Like I said, I took very seriously a lot of the comments and a lot of the suggestions that you had. Some of it is out of our hands, but we do want to take some of that information into account and take some of your feedback on it. And obviously, the more we know that you're appreciating and liking certain aspects of it, it's going to make it a lot easier to talk about the rest of it. So we'll go with that. But for now, if you could hit the like button, that is appreciated always. And like I said, it has been an open forum to ask these questions. So we do appreciate that. Now, it looked like you grabbed something, Brad. Were you trying to open something? What are you trying to do over there?
No, I was just saying.
Look like you're causing some trouble over there.
This was a little experiment that would be fun. I could share this. So, picked up some cards at the Toronto Expo and did cracked them out of different cases, sent them to PSA.
Okay.
So we had we got a PSA 9 McDavid.
Okay. Yep.
That was a BGS 9.5 raw.
Okay.
This was BGS 8 McDavid, which came back a PSA 8. This was a BGS 9.5 McKinnon, which came back a PSA 8, and that's for my 13-14 blue set that I'm doing.
Okay.
This was another. It was a weird. This was a KSA 10. It was in a lot that I picked up. It came back a PSA 9, the quad diamond, so I'm happy with that. Makar these were BGS 9.5 True Gems. This one came back a PSA 9, and the second True Gem came back a PSA 10. So I was happy with those two. This was a BGS 9.5, came back a PSA 9 True Gem. And that was raw. That was just a Jack Hughes that we got. That was not a crossover. But so overall, pretty much what I thought was going to transpire. I was hoping that maybe the McDavid could, obviously just because the value sneak in, but
were the subgrades decent in a lot of them? I know you mentioned several of them, but were the subgrades something you thought could hang in there with it, or were kind of where
there
you
was
expected?
Nothing higher than a True Gem. So
Okay.
there was nothing higher than a 4.95. So
Okay.
But then these came back, which I wanted to share, which are awesome.
Okay, so hold on. I'll zoom in here so you can see better.
Yeah. So this is the
Red Rooster?
The long hair Gretzky's. There's 4. There's 4 different ones.
I can understand why they told him to cut his hair, because if you look at Gretzky there, he looks like he should be panhandling somewhere.
Yeah. So this one came back an 8, and that's the one that's in order to play. Then this guy came back a PSA 9, which is now a Pop 1. So there's Pop 1, none higher, this is a big one.
Right.
And then we got an 8 and then a 7. So,
all right.
But anyways, yeah, for the Pop 1 Gretzky. So now I'm just got to figure out where those are going to go. Because honestly, they don't. I was thinking about keeping these in part of the collection, but they really don't interest me. So I don't know. Like I got a lot of oddball Gretzky stuff that I like, but these, I think that's probably like a $5,000, the 9, probably in that range, $5,000 to $6,000. I would much sooner displace that into other things than just have it in my collection. That's for sure.
There you go. See, Luke, what happened is we gave the story, but when we were at the expo, Brad did some shopping over at Upper Deck Authenticated. And this is kind of lead into your point about your Gretzky. So Brad did some shopping at Upper Deck Authenticated. Now what happened is AEW is one of the Upper Deck licensees. But recently, they've had variety of Upper Deck Authenticated items, some of those fancy, really framed items, whatever. So do you remember, Brad, those like wide framed ones where it's like the moment or the game or something? It's like a wide image. They got the image in the thing and then the spot with the big autograph.
Yep, the show.
The show, that's the one.
Yeah.
So what they did is now they've got AEW versions of the show. They've literally done the exact same thing. They've done the exact same thing. And they've got a Dr. Britt Baker DMD. So what you need to do is sell that. Then you need to go shopping. And then I'll go down and visit. It's like, yoink. He's like, what are you doing? I'm just taking that off the wall to dust it. I think they've got it at $1,500, and I'm like, I don't like Dr. Britt Baker that much. I really don't. No, I do not. I think it's really cool, but I don't want it for that much. A little bit expensive. Mike here says, is McKinnon Brad's PC? Brad's got a couple different PCs. He's got some McKinnon cards.
Yeah, not McKinnon. Yeah. So I did have, I don't know if I want to say probably the best McKinnon collection there was in like 13, 14, 14, 15. I know the national treasures out of 29. I think I had 20 of the 29 of them. Out of 99, I had 10. I probably had 10 of the cup rookies out of 99. I had the full nameplate. I had all of them, and I sold them all. Long story. We'll talk about that on the Friday night show sometime.
There you go. All right.
Not
I
a
sold
topic
them
for the show,
way
eh?
before. Yeah, way before the price increase too. So,
Nice. Yeah, but bottom line though, I would say like, and this is something that's going to be a theme of a few videos that I'm going to do on my own channel. Um, if and it's become a hilarious, it's almost become a meme at this point. But it's like, no, if you've got some stuff with you that has some value, like that Gretzky Red Rooster, for example, and it's not something you want to hang on to, it's like, well, so why are you hanging on to it? My opinion right now, my philosophy is like, no, as long as you feel comfortable that you can let it go and you're good with it, then put the money aside or reinvert it into the hobby if that's what you want to do. I'm not saying do that, but I'm saying you can. And then go get something you like. Go get something that interests you or that makes you happy. Or, like Brad, sell it at a wonderful profit and then buy your good buddy Carlos, a Dr. Breaker DMD from Upper Deck Authenticated the show. Like, Luke, like it flows so beautifully. Like it's wonderful, isn't it?
it is true. You know who Cage, the hobby with Cage now used to be.
Yeah, Cage Lawyer. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Cage Lawyer.
Yep.
I listen to him. I listen to every one of his shows almost. Anyways, but he did one that was he did a really good job on it. And I don't know if he thought about it for a long time, but it was more or less like talking about how you call your collection and you pull out things and you sell them to add. But it was very, very well done. I highly recommend anyone to listen to it. Mm-hmm. And when I was done with that, I kind of made the decision. So a lot of stuff is being pulled and we're listing some cool stuff on eBay right now that's up for sale. There's I think we got 200 or 300 auctions right now, and there's a lot of cards that haven't been on eBay in a long time. A lot of how autos, blah blah blah, like just really some unique things that just don't mean a lot. I did my second year Upper Deck jerseys. I got the 96, 97. I got the full set of the first year, which I loved. But I started to do 97, 98. Really didn't mean that much to me. Mm-hmm. So I think I had half the set or maybe 3/4. So we put all those up on eBay. I'm going to use those funds to put into something else that means more. I think it is important to do that. I think everyone should that's a collector.
I agree. Do you do any kind of culling of the herd or anything like that yourself, Luke? Anything in the same vein or? Yes, we got that you've got that card. I'm just going to mute myself here for a minute.
Yeah. But I think it is important as a collector, right? Like, don't you think? So, like, yeah. Luke, I think anyone that has a collection, like, at some point, do you need to have 10 McDavid Young Guns if someone has that many, or do you need to get like maybe you want 5 and you put that money into something else and enjoy it?
I always believe. I mean, they're pieces of cardboard, right? And honestly, like it's whatever pictures on there and stuff like that, but it's the memories and it's the thoughts, and that's why like a lot of the people got back into the business or whatever, or into the hobby. But it's like everything has meaning. If this card was $10, I buy it still because of the fact that it was $10, but there's a reason for it, and to me it's worth $1,000, so but yeah, I definitely believe that everybody that does flip cards should also have cards that keep for themselves.
Yeah, that's right. So
it's true, and Carlos, you're a true collector. You're a player collector, and I've used you as an example on a lot of things. Even the younger guys that are around the hobby today, I'm like, man, in order for the hobby to sustain itself, people can't just buy, sell. You have to collect. So even a lot of the younger guys that have made some great money flipping, they're getting back onto the collecting side again now. The prices have come down and they're starting to PC certain players. And we talked about it many times. Your player doesn't have to be Gretzky or Crosby. It can be, I talked about Mike with Ty Domi. Love it. Mm-hmm. He loves the Leafs and he decided that was something that was in his space, in his budget, and he collects Ty Domi cards. I think that's so important for the hobby to thrive and survive and keep on going. We need to have passionate collectors, because if everyone just buys and flips and grades, we're not getting anywhere.
Well, I think that comes down to the discussion about the final destination. Some of these cards need to have a landing spot, because if it's just flipping, it's just flipping to flip to flip to flip. And the problem is then it becomes a game of hot potato. Eventually, someone gets stuck with it without anywhere to flip it, and like the game ends. If there is an end collector somewhere in that discussion, then that's what allows it. Now, one point that I was going to make was that from a player collector standpoint, the player collector died in a certain way because the completionist player collector became obsolete at a certain point. Because when one of ones were introduced into it, it steadily ruined the game for those of us who were around prior to the one of one being introduced. It was still plausible to get everything. At a certain point, then it became impossible. And I've got different versions of that I can share and examples that I can share. But when it comes down to it, is I do think though that there is still a place for the player collector. I think now there's a place for the player collector, kind of playing off the last topic we talked about. There's a place for the player collector that's being more selective. I always I always have fun and poke fun at the enjoyable about the the favres and that whole thing. But guess what? I did an inventory. Speaking of what we were talking about, I did an inventory yesterday. Last night, I was going through everything to just check out, make sure I was happy with where everything was, and I've actually got maybe about a dozen that are going to be coming in the next mail day that I got. It's going to be a good addition to it. But the entire collection that I have is 43 cards. 43. Most of them are actually very nice cards. There's a couple of toss-ins and some base cards that were thrown in and some stuff that I just threw in the box there with it. But the majority of them are certain refractors, some of the low-numbered stuff. I've got some of the autograph memorabilia, flawless patches out of 10. And I'm not trying to build the greatest Favre collection in the world, but I've got some nice stuff. But I'm being very picky and selective. I'm not going after everything. But I've got some nice stuff coming in. I'm doing some little subsets and some groupings that are going to be fun together as a group. I don't want everything. Favre has almost 20,000 cards in his checklist. 20,000. I'm talking about a collection of less than 50. But I've had a lot of fun curating a collection of right now about 50 cards. And when these next one comes in, it's going to be a little over 50. And I'm going to carefully monitor what comes in and goes out. I've got some nice Juan Soto collection I put together. I've actually got a few too many. So I'm moving a few, adding a few, moving a few, adding a few. And the idea is to find the combination, the mix, the blend is what I want. I don't want everything. Medano was the one guy where I've tried to be more expansive, but I've been doing it for almost 30 years. That's a different game because I've been at it so long. So I keep chipping away at it to get those ones. But if I was starting over again, I have almost 2,500 Medano cards. I would not have 2,500 Medano cards if I was starting again. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't try. Maritime Collectors has a question here. I want to make sure I address this question. I'm going to come back in just a second. I need to grab something. I will come back. But do you guys want to touch on this question about the pre-screening that you've been discussing? I'll be right back.
Yeah. So absolutely. We're working on that right now. I'd say he'll probably be in the next, definitely within the next four to 6 weeks, it'll all be set up. So there's a lot of moving parts still, and it has been for the last year. I know I keep saying that, but we're definitely going to be offering that, and it's coming soon.
Just like we were saying earlier, things have to shift. We have to change and adjust, right? So,
yeah. So I know that I think I can click on these. Yep. I love this too, like from James. So IPC Ryan McGinnis, he played for our local OHL team, not worth squat, but I know him. I've got a personal collection of a whole bunch of guys' cards that I played with or I know or that are cool, and I love doing that. I think it's an awesome idea. At the end of the day, anyone that gets to play, in my opinion, if you play in the major junior in Canada, that's a big achievement. It's a great achievement, and it's fun to do that. Collect all these different cards from different guys. I actually had a guy that came in, Alan Lake, runs a ventilation company here, and he played in the OHL back in the early 90s. And he's doing some work for me, and his son came in and he's like, yeah, look at the collection. And he had an Alan Lake OHL card, which I did not know existed. And so I went and I bought one. I actually bought one off ComC. I found it. I didn't even know it was out there to add to my local collection, which is awesome. I got a nice Derek Walser, who I played with in Beauport. He's a friend of mine. He's now the assistant coach of Peterborough, who plays tonight in the semifinals. I was texting with him today, wishing him good luck. So I got a nice Derek Walser collection. Again, played in the NHL, incredible hockey player, but those are all fun and they're affordable. And it's fun you can try to find some of the refractors if they get into that stuff. And it's awesome. So I think that's,
for sure.
James, I love that.
Hey, do you know if there's a list of cards Like if I'm looking for, let's say, Medano or whatever, is there like a place I could look for a list of all his cards that's ever been printed of him?
What a coincidence! I just so happen to be back at precisely this moment.
Yeah.
So I use personally. There is tcdb.com. That's a solid one. I do, and somewhere off in the distance, Eric will be punching the air. I actually still use Beckett Organize. It's worked well for me. Is it a perfect checklist? It is not. I literally have cards that are not on that checklist that I physically own. So it's like they're not on there. However, they do a decent job having a decent checklist. It gives you a good ballpark figure. That's why I was able to say with the Brett Favre thing that I could say it's almost 20,000 cards. If I was trying to be like, oh, an expansive Brett Favre collection, like, how much money do you need? Like, it's just so much stuff. It's impossible. Medano has almost 6,000 cards now, and I have about 2,500 of those. So every day that goes by, I get a little closer to moving to about half. I've got 61 of ones ish. So I like, and I've done well over years. And that's not even including the one Brad and I have been joking about. But I've got, in addition, I have, rainbows of some of this. Look, there was one of those leaf sets that good old Brian Gray made. It had 2 1-of-1s in it. And I've got both 1-of-1s, completed that rainbow, and I got 2 of the 4 printing plate 1-of-1s. Yeah. So I have 4 1-of-1s in that one set in that one series for the one subset.
Do you know what another good option is too? Like I did it with Brad Marchand. I collected. I'm missing 6 cards. I took out the 1-of-1s, but I got every card from his rookie year. So I went 2009, 10. I get every variation, everything except for 1-of-1s, which I just said I'm not doing. But that was a fun project. Like you might be able to pick a player that, say if Florida wins the Cup this year and you're a big goalie fan and Bobrovsky wins the Conn Smythe, maybe you get every Bobrovsky card and you're a fan of him. Maybe you get every Bobrovsky card from 22-23, the year he won the Stanley Cup. Or like there's lots of ways he can have a collection. And I don't know, maybe it's just the old school collector in me that the chase for a card and being able to find it for the right deal is the fun. It's the fun part of it. There's lots of cards that I want for my collection. I just can't get the right deal, and I'm not going to overpay. Right? I refuse to do that for stuff for me. Part of the fun is finding that right deal.
I agree with that. That's part of the reason why, though, I mentioned that if it was just about money, that's why I kind of joke with some folks is that even in that Medano collection, my pickups have slowed down. But it isn't because stuff isn't available. I could literally go on eBay right now and just go to the whole list, just type Medano, and if it's just like, I got the Brad Hartland, Black Master, American Express, and I could just buy anything and just hit buy it nows on everything, I could probably add another 600 or 700 cards to what I already have that I don't already have. And then I'd be at 3,000, 3,100. Then it would get a little bit trickier after that. But the truth is, there's literally hundreds of cards that I could just go get today if I was willing to hit buy it now on everything. But I don't want to. It's not just pay whatever because that's the price somebody came up with. I like to pay the price that is in line with reality.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's just me.
No, it's true. I'm the exact same way, 100%. Like it burns me. There's still one card for my orange platinum that I need. I'm just not. The guy has it 10 times what it's worth. I'm just not buying it. I refuse to do it.
Yeah, it kind of plays opposite to what Overgrower is saying there now. It is a buyer's market. That is true. I agree with that. But not on everything. There are some stuff that are tougher items that people know that other people want them, and they're still willing to pay. I use that example of the, it was that cup. So you know how the cup was doing the reprints basically of those older sets, and I was joking about that Medano Ben dual patch. So I picked up one at the expo, and a buddy of mine had picked one up. He didn't realize what a good deal he got on it. He got like an amazing deal before that set came out. He got it for $60 US at the Dallas show. He literally was at the Dallas show in Dallas and bought the card. The thing is, but he realized it the other day. He pinged me. He goes, they've been going for $300 consistently, 300 US. I paid 300 Canadian for mine, and I was annoyed, but at the same time, it was a good price. Mm-hmm. The last one sold for like 340, 360, 307, 310, and there's only 30. There's 35, but a lot of them have come out because they re-released them in that series, the rest of the print run, but it's $300. So at the same time, it's like, it doesn't matter that I don't think it should be worth $300. When it goes into open auction, people are still paying $300. That's a different situation. it's supposed to be a buyer's market, but it's like, no, as a buyer, I want to pay $50. That's what I want to pay. But if I try to pay $50, I don't have one.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter that the market is down. It's like, not for that card. For that market, the card is way up. And it's been the case for a lot of those patches. A lot of those cup patches have been going for very strong numbers depending on the person. It's not everybody. It depends on the person. Because some of them are still sell for strong prices. Other ones, yeah, sure, no doubt, it's lower.
This was another cool card that I got back. It's 2006 UD the Cup base card Ovechkin out of 249. Came back a PSA 9. But cool card. So second year Cup Ovechkin. These are like the random ones that I always enjoy. I think I might keep that, to tell you the truth. But like that's something that if you fired up on eBay, it might go for $100. It could go for $500. It might go for $1,000. You never ever know.
You know, it's always been one of the weird things that goes probably for cheaper than it should. The jersey parallels from a lot of the cup ones that are like out of 25 a bunch of the time. It's like it's the jersey parallel and it's numbered at 25. But a lot of them will go for like $50. Yeah. And I'm like, that seems like a pretty low number. You know, and it is a high-end brand, so it's like, that seems like a decent price. That's not too bad. But yeah. But I think the bottom line on a lot of the stuff is you figure out what makes sense to you. Figure out what because there is room. Yes, it is a buyer's market for a lot of stuff. So if that's the case, hey, congratulations, enjoy it. It's a good time. There's some other stuff though that people aren't going to move off of. They don't care. They're like, oh, it's a buyer's market. Yeah, but it's a 1 of 1, or it's like a 1 out of 5 or whatever, and it's still in demand, and there's enough demand out there to still hold the price. Other stuff, we'll see. Well, like, you know, it'll play out. We're gonna have some fun. I think it'll be a fun ride here this summer. Is all I'm saying. There'll be some enjoyment and some good times still to be had this summer.
You know, we moved the pop report on PSA 10 McDavid's this week too.
With that big stack of
big stack. Yeah, did I mention that to you too, Luke?
No. They back?
Yeah, so they popped. So I called the guy to let him know, and I don't know why this one kind of gave me a little anxiety. Like I was hoping like this guy went over them and he had them and there was no fingerprints, like no blah, like the whole spiel. And I was like, man, they all look good to me. Anyways, yeah, he hit there was 40 McDavid's in total and he hit 25 10s.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was nice. So he's going to submit again. Like I was nervous. Like I was like, man, if he gets 5, he's going to be devastated, you know, and yeah, so 25. So that moved the needle on the McDavid's. Yeah, I don't think you'll see a big increase like that and maybe ever again, right?
What about the Ovies? How did they do?
4 to the 10.
Well, that's pretty good.
He did 10 Ovies. Yeah, 4 10s, 4 9s maybe, and a couple 8s, I think. Yeah, something I can't remember for sure on that one.
The McDavid's will move again if you get your uncle to go and submit.
I know. We were just talking about it. My uncle's I actually want to bring him. I'm trying to get him to come on the show. He'd be a great guest. Even I want to get him to pop on the Friday show just to come on for like 10 minutes. He's like, you know, he's probably my closest friend as well, besides my uncle. But he asked me the other day about podcasts, and he's a true collector / a hoarder of Upper Deck products as well. But he loves his vintage. But he's got like, I don't know, 50, 60 McDavid rookies and unopened cases and wax and just like awesome stuff. But he's a hockey historian as well. And I think, Carlos, you'd enjoy a good conversation with Charles. That's for sure.
Or if he wants to, he can always hide behind like the curtain and be the voice behind the curtain.
Yeah, maybe he's hockey. Hey, maybe he's hockey 99. I don't even know it. Never even thought of that.
Obviously. It seems obvious to me. All right, folks. Go ahead. Did you want to say?
I was going to say, I did. And I got one test that we'll have to look at some point. I took Luke showed me a guy at the Edmonton show, and I bought 10 sets of 9091 Premier. So I went through all 10 sets, and I pulled out what I thought. I pulled out 9 of the Jaggers, 9 of the 10, and then I pulled the best cards that I thought were 50-50 centering, looked perfect. So there's 7 Medanos. So I did 21 cards in total.
Mhm.
7 of them are Medanos, 9 Jaegers. I think one Ty Domi, a couple Curtis Josephs. Anyway,
Sergey Fedorov.
no, every Fedorov was off center, top to
Okay.
bottom.
No,
Like
fair
every
enough.
one.
I just
Yeah,
asked. Yeah.
yeah. No, everyone was off centered. But Medano, I feel like wherever Medano is on the sheet, I was going to look into that because the Medanos all were centered nicely.
Yeah.
So I think he's. So we're going to see. Anyways, I sent in 21 cards out of that lot. 5 of the Jaegers, so let's say 17 cards that I think are absolutely perfect. We'll see the ratio when they come back.
All right.
That'll be a
listen,
fun little reveal.
I don't want to pressure you, but I've submitted 2 Medanos in my life. One of them came back a KSA 10. High regard, no doubt. And the other one came back PSA 10. I'm 2 for 2. Easy. Easy game, Brad. Easy game. Sorry.
Easy game.
Easy game. I don't know what to tell you. As long as the centering is good, usually you're good on those. So that's usually one of the big indicators, unless there's something obvious otherwise. That tends to be the case with a lot of those. All right, folks. Any last kind of comments or thoughts? Feel free to throw them in there. It's been a good episode. We've been having some fun with these episodes, and we'll keep them going here for a little bit. The 8 p.m. time is going to stick for a bit. We'll let you know if there's any changes or anything, but right now that is the plan going forward for the next little bit, and then we'll kind of play it by ear from that. Next show, I think, is still a little while for you guys. I still think that we got a bit of a breather before the next ones, right?
Yeah, so we get the
Halifax
next
thing is
show Luke's coming to Halifax.
Okay.
The 24th, 25th of June, and then nothing until the National in Chicago. So.
All right, so we got a good breather. So it kind of jives with what we talked about earlier tonight. It feels like we've got a little bit of a relax. So you know what? Maybe it's time to Marie Kondo that thing for you collectors. Go out, go into the boxes, find what sparks joy, keep that, and move on from the rest if you want. Like, have at it. Now's a good time. It's a good time to go through those boxes and figure it out for yourselves. Thank you, Mike. Have yourself a great evening as well. All right, folks.
Awesome.
So appreciate you. Great questions, great comments tonight as always. Let me quickly touch on Mike's question here. I didn't get a chance to touch on this one. Medano PC in a spreadsheet. I do that Beckett organized one. Do I keep it handy at cartridges? I do not. I still kind of eyeball it. I'm still pretty good at it. There are some times where I'll be like, and then I'll double check quickly on the organized thing. But most of the time, I'm pretty good at knowing what I've got and don't got. Mind you, the days where I could just eyeball it visually and immediately know I've got it or don't got it, long gone. 2,500 cards in, I can't do it anymore. There's too many parallels. The parallels ruined it. I can't just eyeball and be like, yeah, I think I've got that one. It's like, well, there's 6 versions of it. Which one? Oh. That's what ruined everything. It ruined everything. Have a good night, Jeff. Thank you. All right, folks. Have yourselves a good one. If you can hit the like button on the way out, we always appreciate that. Any comments for anybody throwing it in the replay? If you check that out, if you've got any questions on anything, feel free to throw that in there. And as always, the different sections of it in the description will be different spots you can reach out to the team so that you can get more information if you're looking for an order or any other information related to that. Otherwise, the social medias are there. Have a good one. Thank you, James. Appreciate you. Have a good night, everybody, and we'll catch you in the next one.